Today's session is about creating a FHIR JSON patient resource. So we would be frequently using JSON going forward. On most of the times, we'll be using JSON for the FHIR. So creation of a basic JSON format is very important. So it would give a good practice for us in future. So we'll go to FHIRHL7.org. You'll be landing into this page. What you can do, you can go to the resource types and choose your favorite one. I'll be choosing the patient as it was most used in the tutorials. You can just zoom it out, and we need to create a JSON resource, something like that, and we need to understand why this has been created like that and how can we use the cardinality and different summary functions, and how can we create the JSON resource from scratch. If we create it from scratch, right, we will really able to understand what are all these things. So let's start. What I'll do, first, for understanding purpose, I'll keep these things aside and I'll keep this thing aside. That's amazing. Perfect. So we can start creating our own JSON resource by just looking into the structure. So JSON is always in the format of curly brackets, okay, or you can call them as flower brackets. So whenever you start with the flower brackets, that's it. You are starting with a JSON. And what will I suggest you is go to languages. JSON starts with the letter J. Click on J and click on J. Sun. Perfect. Now we can start creating JSON resource. What you can do, click enter. Automatically that will take us with an extra tab space. You can see over here. If you click enter, automatically that will take. That's a good thing about selecting the language as JSON. So it will be able to easily understand on what you're doing. I'll click over here, and you know, it's always about a key and value. Everything is about a key and value. If you see over here, this would be the key and this would be the value. So it's all about key and value. To make it fast, I'll just copy it over here. So this would be the key and this would be the value. So here you can see patient. So that's it. So for all types of JSON resources, creating this particular key at the top is must. For other resources like XML, UML, things are defined in a different way. For example, patient is mentioned over here, as I said in my previous tutorial. So patient resources mentioned directly over here. But for the JSON, key and value is must. So you should create a key and value for the patient resource mentioning like that. That's good. And we'll start. Now you can go over here and try to understand what it is. So as you can see with the box itself, it's a complex data type, not a simple data type, something like this. What I will do, I will create a key identifier. Ignore the spelling mistakes. I'll just go fast. Okay, and for the identifier, I need to create a value. So how you are going to create a value? The thing is, like, as it is a complex resource type, always it will be in array, because when you click on the identifier over here, you will be having multiple values inside it. So you can see we are going to click over here. You will be seeing multiple values in it. It takes some time to pop out. Don't get confused. Even I'll get confused sometimes. It takes some time to pop out this particular thing. So inside identifier, again, there are like multiple keys and values, multiple complex and simple data types. So always when there's a complex data type, start with an array. So give a square bracket and press enter. So because there'll be again multiple keys and values inside it. What you can do, for example, as we jumped into this particular array, we will give another key inside it. So for example, I'll press enter and I'll give a key which is nothing but use over here. Okay, I'll give it as a key and colon and a value. So here you can see it has a value type as code. So only this particular value should be given. For example, I can give something like old. Okay, so the value would be thing, a comma. So a key and value has been created inside an array. Okay, you should remember that. Again, if you go down here, there is a complex data type again. So if you want, you can create another array inside this and make this as complex as possible. But the good thing, what I want to say is, the cardinality for the type particular key, it's 0 to 1, means it cannot be it's 0 to 1. It can be 0 or it can be repeated once. So what I will do, I will ignore this because I don't want to have so many keys and values in this session and confuse you as much as possible. So I'll take as much as example as possible. Similarly, over here in the system, you can see it's a simple data type. So again, it is 0 and 1. So you can give something like system and give a particular value for it. Similarly, like old. What I'll do, as it is only 0 and 1, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. And for the period, again, it's complex. So it depends on you whatever you are going to try and give. For example, over here, you can see it is a value, okay, and it's a simple data type. So it's in a rectangular shape. So I want to take this as an example. I'll give a double quote, give a key as a value, and a colon and a double quote. And why I have considered this, because I just want to give an example on this. You can see the string over here means you can give any thing inside a string. For example, I will give something like 1 2 3 7 8 9 and some random details and give it a comma. So this has been perfectly considered. We haven't ignored any particular things over here. So over here, I made a small mistake. So just take around 10 seconds, pause the video and just compare this particular pattern and think what mistake I have made it over here. So after 5 seconds, what's concept is like, as I said, anything will start with the flower bracket and everything will have a key and value. Over here, you can see we have a key, and for the value, we have missed the flower bracket. We started good with the concept of thinking that this is an array, but we missed the flower bracket. And I'm going to give a flower bracket. So the indentation might be a little bit different, but you can edit it later. It's not a problem. So it depends on what type of tool you're using. So this is good now. We started with the flower bracket and ended with the flower bracket. Now, when you see here in the identifier section, this is repeatable. It can be either 0, means it cannot exist at all. I can delete it, or this identifier can exist multiple times, n times. The star is nothing but n times. That doesn't mean we are going to do this something like this. So I'll do something. For example, people might think, okay, if it n times, I'm going to repeat this again n times, 1, 2, and again 3. So that's not the pattern at all. So you are not going to repeat in this pattern. So if you learn few of things, you'll be able to understand how to repeat it multiple times. Sorry, I'm slipping my tongue. Yeah, perfect. You can give a comma over here, and you can repeat this multiple times. So you can paste it over here. That's it. So automatically you are going to repeat it multiple times. That's it. And as you are not repeating it again over here, you can remove this comma. You got it right? This is a resource type we are starting with. Inside that we have a complex data type identifier. That would be the key, and this would be the values. As this is a complex data type, when we click on over here, there'll be again multiple values for this particular identifier inside it. So that's the reason we are giving this array, because it is complex data type. It can have multiple values inside it, and we are not having all these values. Maybe we are using only use and value, this particular keys, because everything is considered as 0 to 1, means it cannot repeat at all, or it can repeat once. So it's our freedom to use on our requirements. So I'm only using use and value to avoid the confusion, so it would be very clear in understanding. I'll again just made the indentation look much better, so it would be easy to understand. And I'll copy this. Okay, that's it, a comma and over here. So we'll correct the indentation later perfectly. That's not a problem. And you can see again, you can pause the key using spacebar and think what is the mistake over here again. I made a small mistake again. So over here you can see I'm going to repeat only this particular identifier two times, so I don't need to give comma over here. This particular bracket, square bracket ends the array. That's it. Now let's go back to our next key, that would be active, and this is very simple and clear cut. It's a simple data type, means it doesn't have any sub data types. Okay, it can also be called as primitive. What we'll do, we'll give a comma. So always if you are ending any particular object or ending any particular value, always give a comma. And I'll come over here, and what we'll do, we'll give a key with the name active, active. That's perfect. And colon, and we are not going to give this particular thing because this is not a complex data type, or this doesn't have any array as of now, so it's only going to repeat one time. That's it. We are going to give a direct value. So what would be the value? It's in boolean. So what boolean means, it can be true or false, so I'm going to give it as true. Okay, so I'm going to give it as true. So take 5 seconds, put the pause and think what's the mistake over here. So after 5 seconds, what we'll get to know is, like, we need to always focus on each and everything, like the type, the cardinality, the complex or primitive data type. Depending upon that, only the construction will occur. Without that, if you miss even a single rule, the FHIR resource will not work and will throw errors to the server, and the server will throw you back errors. So it's in Boolean, so you don't need to give in the string format. You can just remove this particular tags and give it as true. That's it. So you don't need to think about the strings. Okay. So that's how you are going to create this particular active key and value. And you can even also remove this completely. That falls under the FHIR protocols for this resource because it is 0 to 1. The active is 0 to 1, so it can be 0 or it can be repeated at least once. So I can even remove that. Still that falls under FHIR standards. And you will know what is this particular thing. Like, the element is a modifier element. This particular element can modify other elements over here. So if you want to know, there is another video which I made like a few videos before to it. You can look into it. You'll clearly understand the concept of this question mark and exclamatory. So let's continue the video. Now we'll get back to our interesting and most used thing. As we are in the patient resource, we should have the name associated with the patient. So what I'll do, again, I'll create a key name, okay, directly, and give a colon. So you should know what we are going to do with this now, because as the square box, this cube indicates, it's a complex data type. Just once we see it as a complex data type, we are going to give an array. By default, we are going to use this array. And as you are going to give multiple elements in it, you are going to use this object pattern, okay, because that's how it starts. So you're going to click on the human name, this particular data type, and wait for a second or two. Automatically it pops out. Perfect. You are into the human name. Okay. Here again, you can start doing the same thing which we have done with this. I'll just click enter for just our understanding purpose, and we'll correct the indentation later. Just follow what we are doing right now. So I will use this particular key and a colon and a code. So I'll keep comma. So when it is code, you can use anything. For example, I'm going to give something like nickname. Okay, perfect. The code is for nickname, and press enter. Now you are going to give other details. For example, representation of full name. For example, I'll use something like text. This is this would be around, might be a big video than past previous video, because I want to explain everything perfect. So we already made a mistake. So we are tend to do mistakes. So what is the mistake over here? We just focused on this particular pattern. Over here you can see use code as nickname, and you can see you don't need to use a nickname directly by copying it from here. The point is you missed the double quotes over here. Don't confuse with the Boolean pattern and the code and string pattern. So Boolean will always be without the quotes. Even if you give double quotes to Boolean, right, it will automatically think it's a string. It doesn't have any particular value, and it cannot act as a modifier element, because when the patient state is true, there will be other elements added which can be used in the future. If the patient is not active, it's false, it's useless, like the patient resource is useless for a while. So this is always a modifier element, and remember, when the value is Boolean, always never give a double quotes. And for most of them, you can give double quotes. For the text, I can give, for example, it says representation of full name. I'll give something like Tendulkar, okay, for our understanding, and I'm going to give a comma. That's perfect. It's interesting, right? Perfect. And you can give family name, given name, prefix, suffix, and period, whatever it looks like. For example, I'll give something like uh, family name. Okay, family. Okay, and colon. And it's like when you say family, family name often called surname. So as already we give it as a Tendulkar here. For time's sake, I am giving a Sachin over here. Come on, again a given name. Okay, what we call Sachin popularly. So we can give that. That's not a problem. Now what I'm going to give is like we call him Little Master. Perfect. So there are like multiple names. I just gave it something like that. So yeah, let's not dig deep into cricket and Sachin. Now we'll come back to our indentation and structure of FHIR. That's how you can now end this with a flower bracket, and it's your wish whether you want to give time period when name was or in use, because in 1970s, or like sorry, in 1990s, they used to give quotation as a little master, but now he's greater than that, god of a cricket we call him. So even you can use that particular period to change the name. So even that particular variable data type is also mentioned here. Means there are a lot of use cases for FHIR, but it's not mandatory. You are going to give it as 0 and 1. If really you want to even think about giving something like a god of cricket over here, another given name, maybe you can use the period, and again you can dig into the particular period variable, and again you can even give what is the start date and end date. For example, little master is something might be from 19 later 1980s to 1990s, and god of cricket something might be from 2010 to the rest. So you can even mention that. So it's that flexible. It's amazing, right? Let's go back and let's start with the other one. So here you can remove the spaces for this particular name. We are done with the name, and there is something known as telecom. Okay, over here we'll start with telecom. I will intentionally make some mistakes and we'll see whether you'll be able to catch it. Telecom. Okay, that's perfect. Again, it's a complex data type. Again, it's like 0 to n types. N times repeatable means you can ignore it or you can give it once. So I'll click on contact point, this particular variable, and it will take around 1 second to pop out. Perfect. You have multiple things like system, code, and everything. So you can give whatever it is, but I just want to make the video a little bit faster so you can understand much better without losing the interest. So I will paste something over here for the telecom part, and you can see inside the telecom we have something on system, means what particular type of this mobile number belongs to. I just gave it as mobile, but it would be wrong because this is a code type. So we should always follow the data types over here. In the code type, we have phone, fax, email, page. So what I will do, I'll just copy the phone and give it over here. If you give it mobile, it will get errored out. So I gave a random number. Don't call this number. Okay, and yeah, use. So here you can see in the use, there are like multiple other uses: home, work, temp, old, mobile. So I gave it as work. That's good. But you might be thinking, what is the rank data type? So for this particular rank, it says specified, preferred, or out of use. For example, we might have multiple phone numbers to call. For example, even for that particular thing, like FHIR has given an option, the rank, we can keep one as a highest, two as a lowest. For example, what I'll do, I'll type over here something, rank. This will be used when you have multiple phone numbers. And what I will give something like mm, 1. Okay. Why? Because I have another mobile number and I can even give that in this particular way. And for the phone, I will give something like, okay, that's good. Yeah, I'll give something like email. So email would be my second contact. Okay. And the value would be something like abcd@gmail.com. So you can contact me here. If you call to my phone number, if it doesn't work, you can contact me here. That would be a second, and I'll give this as home. You can see here home. Perfect. I'll give it as home, and I rank it as 2. What that means is first preference goes to this particular phone number. Second preference, you can drop an email. So you might be thinking why we are giving it multiple times, because this particular thing is repeatable. The telecom is repeatable multiple times, 0 to n. So you can give like 10 contacts, like your email, your number, your fax, whatever it is. We'll again go to contact point. I'll explain you here. Tan, tan, tan. Yeah, wait for a second. Yeah, okay, that's a mistake we do. Perfect. Yeah, you can give this multiple times. You might have phone, fax, email, pager, whatever it is. So here, in past few minutes, I made a mistake over here. I asked you to identify. Hope you might have already identified it. So we have missed a comma over here. So once we are done with this particular key with inside values, you need to give comma. That's it. That's how you start the next one. Always don't forget the comma. And over here, I'm going to give only 2 phone numbers. So I will give a square bracket and end it. As I already said, once you are done with the comma and you're going to repeat another key values and it's the end of that particular part, you don't need to give comma. That's it. So that's how we are going to learn how we are going to use how we are going to construct the FHIR resource from scratch. So let's go back to the actual structure. Yeah, we are done with telecom and we came over here with the important concept, gender. That's good. So I'll end with the comma and I'll start with the value gender. That's good. And over here, you have something known as code, and it's repeatable 0 to 1. I'm not sure why we are going to repeat multiple genders. Maybe when there's a gender conversion, that might help. But in reality, we mostly give only one gender, male, female, other, and unknown. So unknown can be anything. In future, you might understand it much better. Okay, I'm going to give something like other. Okay. So again, this is repeatable. You should keep this point in mind. This is repeatable, but mostly we are not going to repeat. And over here, I'll press enter and we need to give comma because we are only giving it once. That's good. And birth date. And it can be anything. So even we are going to use birth date here. And this is not a complex data type. Please remember, people might think birth date would be a complex data type by having multiple sub data types. With the rectangle itself, that's very easy in FHIR. With the rectangle itself, we can understand this is not a complex. This is simple. So what we are going to give it as birth date. We might make some spelling mistakes. Maybe we'll correct at the end, and we'll start string. And you might be thinking how what date I am going to give over here, like something like 1889. I was born in 1889, something like that, or some July, or some random date, something like that. No. So for each and everything, there is a defined value here. You can click on this particular data type, date. When you click over here, just wait for a second. Automatically, the date data type pops up with a lot of examples. For example, you can see you can just give an year, or you can just give year and month, or you can just give year, month, and date. Means it's going with hierarchy. So the hierarchy is like year, month, and date. So always try to give in this format. Even if you do something like this, it's gone. So you should always remember to construct the FHIR resource properly. I think it's same with the HL7 too. Few fields are much important, except if they are like strings. If there are any doctor comments and anything, that would be okay. But if you're tweaking out with the phone numbers and birth dates, which are like predefined, it would not work. We'll go back now. And yep, uh, now we are going to choose an interesting thing over here. So as we covered multiple data types, concepts, and flags and cardinality, here let's come with something like diseased. Okay, so when you see the diseased over here, I already explained you about modifier elements. If the patient is diseased, the patient will have date and time of the deceased whenever he lost his life. If the patient is not diseased, so the patient will not have this value. So that's nothing but a modifier element. So one value is modifying the other value. For what I will do, I'll use this particular key. Okay, and I'm happy. Okay, let's see if we are making any mistakes later. I'll use this particular key, colon, and I'll start with the double quote and this boolean again. Okay, boolean is nothing but a true or false value. If you want to understand it more, you can click over here. What I will do, dang, dang, okay. If you lost over here, you can do a control F. So you can see true or false. So what I will do, I'll keep something like true over here. Okay, and I will click comma, and we have missed the comma over here, and I'll go next. So what happens now? Shall I go to address and start giving about the address? I'll click on this, I'll copy this. Shall I go like this? Shall I go? No, not at all. Because as I already gave it as true, I can jump to address. I cannot jump to address. If I give something like false, the patient is not diseased, so the disease time will not be available. I can jump to address and start giving my own details in the address, but as I gave it as true, I should follow up with the time of disease date and time. That's called modifier element. When you hover over here in this particular question mark, the element is a modifier element. You can see over here. So that's the point of modifier elements in a real-time example. So again, we need to follow the date time format. So here you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to give date something like this. No, never. The date time for this is again a different thing. You might be wondering why we need a time. That is very important. Even that particular time will help you to calculate the hospital billings, how much time the patient has spent till he deceased, how much oxygen he has taken, like all the billings will be done. So even the time in milliseconds is very important. Okay, it's very costly. The healthcare is very costly, so the time is important. So you can see over here the date and time is like very very minute. So you can give something like this or something like this, or I'll keep it simple. I don't want to confuse. Yeah, the patient has lived a long life. Okay, so the patient has lived from 1905 to 2015, almost 110 years, and you can see even the time zone, even the minutes, hours, and like even the offsets, everything has been given here. You want to understand more about this, you can read this particular pattern, but yeah, let's jump into our structure. So as this main intention of this video is trying to understand how we are going to give the structure. Okay, to make it more easy and understandable, what I will do, so you might be having a lot of white space over here and you're unsure whether your format is perfect or not. That's not a problem. You can do Control A, Control C, and Google JSON validator. Okay, you don't need to edit manually. It takes a long time. So that's what I'm here for, to teach you shortcuts. Paste it over here and validate the JSON. So it says invalid JSON means we have some issues over here. So it says parse error in line 29 after the rank. See, after the rank, we have in the line 29, we need to give comma here. So even over here, you can put comma. Again, you can validate the JSON. Again, you can see line 36, we have made multiple mistakes. We haven't given a comma. Okay, that's good. We will give it. So generally, you are not going to build the JSON in your daily life. Everything is automated at your work, so you don't need to build everything. Now it's a valid JSON. Perfect, right? That's how you're going to check whether your JSON is valid or not. Now we need to format this JSON. As I said, there are a lot of extra spaces and the indentation is not perfect. You don't need to do it. Everything's available online. You can type something like JSON formatter online. Click over here and paste your particular thing in this JSON formatter as I already done. So just scroll down and do format or beautify. That's it. Your JSON is formatted perfectly with all the indentation, and you can see I intentionally gave a long space over here, and automatically that has been corrected. The flower bracket has been done over here. You can directly copy this. There's a lot of options. You can directly copy, click over here and paste it over here. That's it. Your JSON patient resource is ready. The main intention of this particular tutorial was we are going to post a lot of things in the future session using Postman or Insomnia or Visual Studio or to the FHIR server. Before that, we need to understand the basic fire structure. And you might be asking a question to me, over here in the format, we have something like identifier active, all the details where they have went, and I'll be letting you know where about all this ID metadata implicit rules will be coming from. So that would be taught in the next session. Yeah, I hope you understand how to structure the JSON. This is nothing but a complete details in the HL7 message. You will be having all these details in PID, event, and all other segments, right? That's it. You are going to format this to make it simple. Key value, key with the multiple arrays, and again values, key values, again sub key values. So key value, value in the Boolean format, again key, multiple sub keys and values in it. Okay, for this particular key, this complete array becomes a value. Inside this array there will be multiple keys, again there will be a value. It's a very simple thing. Just don't forget to give commas and extra spaces. That's it. You are going to build your own JSON patient resources. For example, if I maximize this, there are like multiple patient resources. Is organization like coding system. For example, if I go to something like care plan, you can click everything as its own JSON format and you can create it without any issues. You can see the care plan structure. What happens for the care plan? I just want to give an example. For this particular thing, it will be something like that's it. So the resource type starts with care plan, and if you go to something like ding ding, okay, operation outcome, you can see the resource type should start from operation outcome and it should be something like this. It's very simple, right? So you don't need to get confused. The more we practice, right, in future it will be very helpful to identify a lot of other values. Not only the resource type is a basic header, but all other values over here and why they are there. So even the cardinality, functionality, the modifier options, a lot of things. So I have taught a lot in the previous videos, in past 10 videos. You can be getting more understanding once you cover those videos and come back here. But yeah, vice versa, both works. Have a great day, and I hope we have covered a lot about creating a particular patient resource, and you can start creating your own patient resource by following the other different structures. Not only this patient, but you can follow any other resource. You can follow medication request and type it and try to run it in JSON validator and try to correct it. And we are going to use this particular things and run it in the FHIR server in future. Okay, that would be helpful for us. So in next videos, we are going to post, get, and change the information inside the FHIR server about the patient details, and we'll continue that part. Hope you got some good understanding about the structure. Thank you. Have a great day.